Good morning, Devoxx! Finally. Is my slide there? I'm good. After 3 years, this pandemic stuff and so on, I'm so happy to be back. So welcome, welcome. Yeah, I just want to take this in. Give me a second. So you've probably noticed, hopefully the movie will not crash tomorrow evening, but of course we have Top Gun the Maverick tomorrow evening in this room at 8 o'clock. So make sure you're here. We're going to have free popcorn for everybody, so that should be a good one. It was actually a bit difficult because, yeah, we've moved it to beginning of October for obvious reasons, and to be clear, it was for the sunshine, right? Yeah, all the big blockbuster movies actually get out in December, so I had to actually really dig and see which movie it would be, and we were able from Sony to still show this one, which isn't actually displayed anymore in the cinemas. Who hasn't seen the movie yet? Okay, so I think there's going to be enough people. I've been told it's a really great movie. So anyway, so welcome to the 19th edition. Bloody hell, 19. It's actually 22 years now because we skipped a few years. But just, Nicola tweeted like, I need to ask, who's here for the very first time? Wow, still a lot. So, well, I'll talk about that later on. We had a bit of a rush on the registration tickets, and people are telling like, yeah, but you should have some kind of mechanism to make it more fair. So my question is, who's been here for 19 editions? 1, 2. Okay, so we'll just use that like, you know, if you come to all the editions, you get pre-registration. I think that's going to be easy to solve. You know, problem solved. Next up. So our theme for this year is obviously, you know, it's strange times that we're living in, and I like to focus on the positive things. And the positive is, of course, you know, the science and what smart people can do with technology. And we have this, you know, space web telescope doing circles and having drones as well. Don't worry about that. I just want to get some exclusive footage. But on 1.5 million kilometers, we have this James Webb telescope taking pictures of the galaxies and so on. And I thought it was so obvious that we should take that as the theme of this year, because it does show the positive side of humanity. And I wasn't completely convinced until I saw this picture here. Anybody knows this picture? I've seen this? You can yell if you want. Nobody, okay. Because I was actually thinking of getting an astrophysicist doing a keynote, and I actually reached out to Dr. Kelly. She's a lady, very smart person in the UK, but she could only do a virtual talk. And I said, no, I only want to do in-person talks after 3 years. But this is actually Stephan's quintet. These are 5 galaxies you're seeing. This is based on 1,000 images that they glued together, and these are 5 galaxies. This is just amazing. I mean, I'm sure there must be other species, intelligent life out there. I mean, we can't be the only human beings out there. So anyway, that's our theme of this year. It's basically all the images from Space Webb Telescope. So we had 2 editions skipped because of Corona. I really didn't want to do a virtual event because people just get frustrated. You sit there in your pyjama doing a talk and you have no feedback. I really hated that. I did work 1 year. Well, the first year was like, woohoo, sabbatical, right? But you couldn't go on holiday, so it was like, well, that's not really that fun. And then the second year, together with Celestino, we developed an online platform for like the different Devoxxes who did want to do an online event. Like Devoxx Ukraine, Devoxx UK, a few Vox days as well. So we actually had lots of fun. But after the second year, I was like, I'm bored. I want to organize Devoxx, you know. So for me, it's like, it's clear now. I mean, I'll be organizing Devoxx for the rest of my life until I drop dead, basically, because I love doing this, right? So it should be okay. Of course, if I drop dead tomorrow, it's finished, right? So. But if you look at it, it's been 3 years basically, and it was obviously from the beginning that people really want to get back into person events. So we were assuming, or we were anticipating that it would sell out fast. And then we saw for Devoxx France, I think it was 11 hours, Nicola? 11 hours, Devoxx France was sold out. So we said, like, I was guessing like 3 days. But I said, like, just to play it safe, we'll do 2 batches. So we had one batch of 2,000 tickets and another batch of 750 tickets. And of course, there's a lot of other extra tickets. Well, just to give you the real number, we are with 3,200 unique developers here during the week. So that's the total number. And so we said the first batch, we opened it up. We used a very nice registration application, which I'll talk about later on. And there were 1,600 tickets gone in 5 minutes. In 5 minutes. These were all the combi and the the combi and the conference tickets. Those were all gone in 5 minutes. I was like refreshing, and the first reflex was, oh damn, there's a bug in the system. Yeah. But it's an open source platform, so I knew it was battlegrounded. So I was like, what was happening? It was like 5 minutes? Seriously? That's not fair. For a lot of people, and like Christine and I, we were like excited. And then in the afternoon, I was actually shaking, seriously. I was like, what's happening? This is like, it's like a techno event, or like Tomorrowland, people were tweeting. It's like, what the hell? But then in the afternoon, yeah, we started to get calls, like companies, like, I won't say any names, but there were like lots of companies like, what happened? My guy was in the traffic jam, he was there at 9:30, and everything was gone. So we had to do a bit of damage control, and luckily we had the second batch, and so we were basically taking some tickets from that and giving it to selling it to the sponsors. But we need to think about that for next year, because I really hope this was just the pandemic effect, right? Next year, hopefully, it will not go that fast. I don't know, we'll see. So, but we said, like, well, Christine was like literally going like this. And Christine is my wife. I mean, without her, I would not be able to organize this. I would have been broke already 10 times, right? Everything would really run in chaos, etc. I'm more creative. She does all the administration, and she's a great, great help, and my partner in crime. So let's give an applause to her as well. But our printer, she has to print it because we are working with an accountancy which needs to have the paper. The printer was really going like that. It was like, what? All day printing the invoices. And we were using Swigget. Swigget was running on a Kubernetes cluster. It didn't bind. I mean, it was really nicely scalable, so it could handle as many as we want. So that was fine. So a great job by Celestino, who also organizes the scanning. If you ever want to organize an event, you need an open source registration app. It's free. You can use it. It's a great product. And I really appreciate Celestino's work, so thank you. And so we said, like, even the printer was saying, like, please cool down. Yeah? We actually had the taste of the toner in our mouth the first day because we're just printing constantly, so that was like, wow. And then, yeah, then of course the phone calls came in and said, like, we need more tickets, etc. I said, no problem, no problem. We have a second batch. We'll have a second batch, what was it, 15th of September? No problem. Just register there and you'll be fine. So in the theme of Top Gun, this is what happened. And it was gone. 2 seconds? And I was refreshing. I was like, what? 2 seconds? How's that possible? 2 seconds. So there were no bots. So it was real persons. Actually, there was a company with 10 people who were refreshing to make sure they got the ticket. So it's like, bloody hell. So it's obvious everybody wants to be back in an in-person event. So again, I'm really glad about that. I even saw a tweet from Roy. It was like, it's even harder to get Devoxx tickets than for Adele and PDS and so on. So yeah, or Beyonce. So, but 3 years. I mean, 3 years, just imagine, 3 years ago, we were at JDK 13. Yeah. So, and that's a very good thing, right? Because every 6 months we have a new version. So that's really good. It's actually not so bad to actually have a small pause because there's a lot of stuff we can talk about. I mean, if you look at now, we are in JDK 19. We've got Project Bloom. We actually have Ron Pressler, who is one of the, I think it's the technical lead of Project Bloom, talking here as well today. So make sure you check that talk out. But we have so many other things like Project Amber, Valhalla, Panama. I know I gave Simon Ritter an extra talk on the pattern matching as well. So the good thing about not doing it for a few years is that there's a lot of content that we can actually provide you, which is really fresh, etc. And I will hopefully next year we will get Mark Reynolds back and Brian Getz to talk here as well. Of course, they have their own event next week, so that was a bit of a scare. I mean, I moved it without really looking at the other competition. Well, no, not competition, but colleagues. But hopefully we'll fix that for next year. So a lot for Java. I think for me personally, so the first year when I took the sabbatical, I actually played with AI and convolutional networks because my son plays basketball. And so I film all his matches, and then I'd create like highlights. But I wanted to automate that. So during my sabbatical, I developed, using CNNs, a way to actually analyze where the ring is, where the ball is, and then every time the ball is above the ring, that's potentially a highlight. And so I was having fun with that. But this was like 3 years ago. Now, the big thing really in AI, and I know it's more, we're a Java-centric conference, but there's a lot of excitement with the transformers. I mean, transformers is a new encoding, decoding paradigm, which is basically almost replacing convolutional neural networks. And there's a lot of excitement there, and especially in the large language models. And that's why also I've invited Alan to come and talk about that on the keynote, because there's a lot of excitement there. And then you say, like, well, what's in it for me? Well, you know, if you look at all these different tools, you have like Big Code, you have CodeGeeks, the whole OpenAI codex with GPT-3, but then on top of that, you have the GitHub Copilot. It is really touching our lives as a developer, right? And where will it take us? If you extrapolate this, where will it be at 10 years' time? I mean, you saw the video before the trailer. This was completely generated using a prompt. There wasn't any artistic designer behind that. So these like designers, they're getting scared. It's like, bloody hell, yeah? And if you look at Copilot, I mean, I can just give a prompt and it creates code for me. So it's like, what's going to happen as a developer, you know, in 10, 20 years' time? In 20 years' time, I will already drop dead, so I don't care. But for the young developers, like, what's going to happen? So that's very interesting times, and we'll see a lot more details coming up in the keynote, but also there's a few related talks that you should definitely check out, okay? And so that's the AI part. If you're interested in doing this type of stuff, there's a whole range. I mean, you've probably heard and already seen this before. There's a whole, I'm going too fast. There's a whole range of interesting solutions there. I mean, I've played with DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, Disco Diffusion. There's really, really crazy stuff that can be done. And so coming back to the video you saw before the trailer, is that I wanted to at least give a few contexts and say, like, okay, these are some subjects we want to touch. One is the drones. And of course, we have the drone here where we're playing and getting some new content. But the main drone, the reason why the drone was here is that last month, we actually had Devoxx Ukraine taking place, which is an online, it was an online event, of course, for obvious reasons. But what is really cool about Devoxx Ukraine last month is that it was based on donations. And they actually collected $50,000 from people, including even Venkat, who donated, and I, of course, did the same. And with that donations, they are actually purchasing drones for the army. So you go like, wow. Yeah. And I know I shouldn't be politically and so on, but it's just an insane time. And again, yeah, there's no words for that. But at least that's a way of helping. So you can still donate if you're interested on the Devoxx Ukraine website. The other visual I wanted to have was, of course, the beer and so on. You know, Beer Central. Who hasn't been at Beer Central yet? Who has not been at Beer Central? Okay, 10% has not been at Beer Central. Just a warning, Belgian beer does have a bit more alcohol than the beer in the UK. So you will and can have a headache, you know, the next day. So watch out, dose it. Don't drink too much, right? The other visual was, of course, let me see if it is then the movie. And then I thought that was a nice one where we have the skyline of Antwerp, but also us developers sitting alone in our pajamas, you know, in front of the computer, hacking away. And I think another positive thing of the pandemic, again, I like to see the positive parts of it, is that working at home has been really endorsed by our employers, by the big companies. So I think that's definitely a positive sign. But being in your pajamas for 1 year, that's not a good thing either, right? I mean, I think it's the first time I'm wearing a polo since 3 years. Otherwise, it was just my T-shirt from whatever sponsor I got the T-shirt from. But so it is good to get out once in a while. Otherwise, you get really isolated. So for the people who want to do this art and you want to make your own video, there's a few other conferences here who might want to do this type of intro. I got this from David. His Twitter account is Marcader Paints, and he's actually from down under as well. So our next keynote speaker is from Australia, and we have another engineer who actually did this video, and he's using, as you can see, all these different tools. He started with disco diffusion. If you've played with disco diffusion, it creates more artistic type of paintings. And so that wasn't really the best set for him. He actually went for stable diffusion, and he then runs it on Google Colab. And on Google Colab, you get all the GPUs that you want. You can even have like a pro version for like $10 or something, and you have really powerful machines. And he actually did about 100 video iterations to create that video. So that's pretty amazing. And he even created 5-second intros, which we will put in front of each presentation. Makes a lot of noise. One other thing I wanted to highlight is this poster I made, because again, I had a bit of free time. This was based on a version 1, which Paul did. And it's like a roadmap for the Java developers in 2022. You can download it. It's open source, so you can download the chart, and you can adjust it, because it's not perfect. I will not say this is it. It's a guideline. You can customize it, because you can just download the Keynote file and adjust it. But we actually printed 1,000 of these posters, so if you want to have one, we'll put it at the registration desk, and you can put it on your office wall. Or you can even use it if you're going to hire some junior developers. You can show the map, and this is what you all need to know, right? And scare them. And then yesterday there was a student, do I need to know everything? He said, no, just focus on the small part. You don't need to know everything, right? So make sure you don't scare them off either, right? But get your copy. We will have them at the registration desk. And so this year I deliberately decided not to stream the talks, because I said, I had enough of this virtual streaming stuff. I will do it only on demand, because it's also an extra stress. As you can see, sometimes things can go wrong, and with streaming all these talks, something can go wrong. So I wanted to eliminate that risk. So we are recording all of the talks. All the talks from Monday are already on our YouTube channel. We will release the talks from yesterday later after this keynote. I'll put them public. But basically, all the talks which are happening in the cinema rooms are made available on our YouTube channel. So make sure you don't have to miss anything. If there is a room which is full, just go to another session, and then watch that talk later on, tomorrow or during the weekends when it starts raining again. And the channel is really growing, and we have 134,000 people subscribing. And I tell that to a lot of speakers. Like, there's some speakers who, like yesterday there was a few talks which didn't have that many attendees, because they were all going to Venkat, of course, right? And I said, don't worry. I mean, doing the talk in front of a few people, that's totally fine, because prime time is online, right? There are talks which only had a few people, and then you have 100 or 200,000 views on YouTube. So even for the speaker, it is shared with the community, and we make that available for everybody to enjoy. So that's where you need to go. A bit of information of the proposals, just to give you a bit of context. We actually received 736 talks in our CFP. And we actually limited to 3 talks per speaker. If we would not have done that, we probably would have had double the talks, because a lot of speakers will just say, whoa, I'll just publish or submit all the talks that I can give. So we limit that to make it a bit easier for us. But we had 736 talks, so we had a lot of good quality to choose from. And I need to thank, I'm sure they're not all here, but I really need to thank my program team. And they're really doing an amazing job, not only reviewing talks, but like helping me with the registration, with moving boxes around, etc. I mean, again, it is a team effort. Even if I'm the only one standing here, it is a really team effort. And I would like to give you, let's give them a round of applause for their support, right? And the beauty is that we actually don't only use our program team, but we actually, because it was a bit in the wrong sequence. Normally we allow people to register, and then the people who register get access to the proposals, and they can also rate the talks. But this year we had the CFP first, and then I only had the registration in August because I wanted to at least see where COVID would be. Because I was really like, if COVID would still have been high, I would not have organized the event either, right? So luckily that wasn't the case, but that meant I had to actually reach out to you and say, like, hey, who wants to actually review talks? And we had a lot of people. I think the first 2 columns, they all reviewed all the talks. That's like, bloody hell, that's a lot. Not even the program team does all the talks, except I think Guillaume Laforge did. But it's like, so again, it's a group effort. We get like 40, 50 people who review, and then for me as a program chair, it's very easy. It's just I go to all the top-rated talks and basically select these, and that makes my life very easy. And then I use OptaPlanner to actually generate the schedule for me. And then if a speaker comes to me and says, why do I speak on Friday? So it's not me, it's OptaPlanner. It's Geoffrey's fault. He did the algorithms behind that. So thank you again for that. I really, really appreciate it. It is a really community effort. And we try our best to provide you some good experiences and good talks. Of course, the other big part for us is the speakers. We have roughly around 230 speakers. And I was really scared. I know Arnaud, who does Devoxx France, he's also the program chair in Paris. I think he had about 8 or 10 speakers dropping out in, was it April or May? Because of COVID. So I was like, man, I really was anticipating, like, don't give too many talks to one speaker, because if he or she drops out, I need to find replacements. And we only had 1 person who had COVID. So that's like positive signs. So that's really good. So thank you very much to all the speakers. We had a really nice reception yesterday evening, and you just saw the enthusiasm, the fact that we could hug each other again. Sure, we'll probably be sick next week, maybe, or a few. It's bound to be. We will have a bit of snot, but at least we won't die from it, right? I mean, I think we're all at the stage where we get vaccinated and we're fine. So I hope so, of course. But again, thank you to all the speakers of making this happen. Again, without them, it would not be possible. And of course, the last part is our sponsors. Amazon, JetBrains, thank you for your support. I mean, I love JetBrains. I use it on a daily basis, so it's really great to have them here. And if you have technical issues, you can talk to the engineers there, and they're doing an amazing job. Even Amazon, I don't know if you know this, but they have something called Code Whisperer. And Code Whisperer is their solution to or their alternative to Copilots. So all these big companies are starting to do the same thing, where they generate code based on prompts. So make sure you check it out as well once it's available. And again, there's quite a few new ones as well, companies. Like DivBlue is an interesting one. I'm definitely going to play with that. They didn't pay me to tell this. I'm speaking from the heart here. But they basically have an algorithm where you can install a plugin in your IDE, and it will show you an icon to actually generate a unit test based on that method, but a smart unit test. So I'm definitely going to play with that, and I want to reach like 80% coverage, because now it's 0. So I need to do something about that and clean up my act. But thank you again for all these companies supporting us. Again, make sure you visit them, say hello, look at what they provide us, etc. I mean, they will definitely appreciate that. So that's all good. And we also have something new, which Christine came with, is we have this movie bar. So at the exit, where you go upstairs, left and right, you will see 3 bikes. And so there you can just sit on the bike and produce your own smoothie with your own energy. Right? So make sure you check it out. It's really nice smoothies. And so like yesterday, it was really funny. Venkat was doing a 3-hour deep dive. And then in the afternoon, he had to do another 3 hours deep dive. And you would think, like, he's going to be exhausted, right? So during lunch, I was going to the smoothie bar. Guess who was biking like a crazy Venkat? It's like, come on, man, he's a Superman, or what is that? I mean, that's not fair. But the beauty was, as I was actually drinking his juice, I was like, well, thank you, Venkat, again for your energy. And I was like, it was a really nice movie. But so make sure you check that out. And every day we actually have a different sponsor next to it who basically sponsors the fruit which they offer. So thanks for that. It's a nice addition. This evening, we'll have the meet and greet. So because we're in Belgium, we will have beer and French fries for the people who are here for the first time. So in the exhibition hall, I think till around 8:30, you'll be able to drink some beer, French fries, socialize. And yes, we put mayonnaise on our French fries, and then we go all the way. So you need to have like mayonnaise in your hand. That's how Belgians do it. And then you lick it off, and then you give a hand and say, hey, how are you? That's normal. It's tradition. But thank you to Google, Sonotype, and JFrog for supporting and sponsoring that. It's really good because I don't want to bore you with the finances, but like the catering for us, it was 50% more expensive compared to 3 years ago. 50%. And don't tell Kinipo, but you know, electricity is also like in Belgium. So I really hope I won't get a second invoice afterwards. We'll beep this out for the stream. Two last points I wanted to bring over. Stijn van den Ende from ACA and a few other colleagues, they're organizing actually a Vox Days Brussels. He wanted to do this in May, like be the first one before COVID, but it was just too aggressively from a timing perspective. So they rescheduled it to the 23rd of May 2023. So if you are from Belgium, I mean, Vox Days, for the people who don't know this, these are like the incubators for Devoxx. So there's basically an event from Java user groups who organize a one-day or a two-day event. And a few of those, their aim is to become a Devoxx. Now, of course, here it's a bit of a special situation because we already have a Devoxx. But yeah, it will be in Brussels, brussels.voxdays.com, and the ticket sales are already open. And it is a one-day event to just get together and at least, you know, we sometimes get some, I call it the Devoxx blues. So like, we work 9 months to this event, and then on Monday, I more or less fall in a depression for a week or so, because you just miss this energy, etc. So luckily in May, I can just get it up again and then go back and socialize. So I'm looking forward to that. So staying all best of luck with organizing this. And then next year, it's our 20th edition. 20th! Woo! So we're brainstorming about what else we can do. We hopefully will come up with a few interesting things. But I think my main focus will be just to make sure the movie trailer plays completely. I think that will be my main focus for the 20th edition. But other than that, the date is important to know. So I've actually decided to move it even 1 week sooner. So it will be from the 2nd till the 6th of October. And again, the main reason is to be in front of the COVID spike, because we are starting to see that it's picking up again. So if we're getting closer to the summer, the safer we will be. So the 2nd to the 6th. And I think registrations will be open, or we will open it around May. We will definitely communicate it well, good enough, and we will work again with 2 batches. And just please, just take your time to register. You'll be fine. You know, like, yeah, should be good. Anyway, that's me. So it's my pleasure now to